Is the music industry terrified of BTS? Is there a massive conspiracy against BTS from the music industry? Have BTS been targeted? Are they trying to pull us down? Today, we're gonna find out. Today's going to be a spicy and controversial one. So many people have actually sent me this video and said, you know what, you should check it out and react to it because, well, this one's a doozy. Now, this is a video called Why the Music Industry is Terrified of BTS by a YouTube channel called BORACITY Magazine. Shout out to them, go check them out. Apparently they make awesome BTS content. And people said they make kind of like in-depth kind of analysis videos about BTS when it comes to stuff like, does the industry hate BTS and actually low-key have it out for them? Is there a deeper fight going on here? So today we're going to be reacting to that. Guys, let me know, what are your thoughts on this whole subject? Do you think that there is something a bit bigger going on when it comes to BTS? Is there something because they're Korean? Is it because the music industry doesn't want to admit that K-pop is banging and slaps hard, and in certain situations certain members can almost, you know, make you question your marriage? Never mind. Let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you like to see other types of videos like this and, you know, maybe other topics or other stuff like that, let me know down in the comments below. And also just, you know, feel free to like send me the links. Don't send links on YouTube comments because you may not know this, but when you guys send links, it actually gets them buried and they get put into like a kind of like a spam thing. So your comments actually don't ever appear on YouTube videos. What I would suggest is join my Discord. The link to that will be down in the description below, and send it in that as well. There's a K-pop folder in there as well, like a K-pop channel in there. Come and join us. We're building an awesome community. There's over 2,000 people there now, and that way you can send me links to stuff and it'll actually get shown. So that's also a good place. Also, if you want to see videos like this way before YouTube hits them, all the blocked videos, everything like that, full album reactions, completely unedited, run BTS, completely unedited, I do have a Patreon. The link to that is down in the description below. Come and join us. We're building a insane community there. I'm absolutely loving it. All of our discussions, everything like that, it's the best. But guys, with that said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's go.
On April 3rd, Jimin of BTS became the first South Korean
hell yes, my boy,
at #1 on the world's biggest music chart.
That's crazy, isn't it?
100. His song Like Crazy became the 7th song ever by a Korean act to reach #1. The other 6 songs are BTS's songs.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Songs that reach
Like Crazy
are from BTS and BTS members only. Actually, all the songs from Asian artists that debuted at #1 are from BTS. And
damn,
BTS
dude, that's a stat.
This is extremely scary for the music industry. Since BTS entered the Hot 100's top 10 for the first time in 2018, the music industry has done everything in their power to prevent them from getting #1 songs. But
that's
why
interesting.
does BTS keep succeeding despite literally being one of the most sabotaged artists in the industry?
I can tell you, it's the fan base, straight up. They make amazing music. So many people love it. The fan base put them there. Simple.
And why would all these music entities work together to harm one artist?
Surely they would want to promote it and make more money off them, though.
The industry's actions say something very clear. BTS cannot be at the top, and they don't try to hide this anymore. Everyone can see the industry's obvious
I'm quite curious because I haven't seen any of this yet.
A weird new rule that prevents BTS from succeeding in their charts. Just look at the latest one. Jimin's song Like Crazy got a #1 in its first week, and it was predicted to stay in the top 10 for its second week.
Damn, that's crazy.
Jimin was achieving the same debut numbers of Olivia Rodrigo, but without
I don't know who that is,
support. And this
I assume they're big.
was not the industry's plan. So Billboard decided to change one specific rule that benefits Jimin, so him and only him can fall from the charts, and the rest of it stays exactly the same.
Whoa.
It's still unknown what Billboard did exactly to make the best-selling song of the week go from 100,000 sales to 14,000 sales. Maybe Billboard didn't just want Jimin to not be in the top 10. They wanted him to free fall. So why filter 60% of the song's sales?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why would they?
When you can cut 90% of the song's sales and make him have the biggest fall ever. Maybe they didn't just want to take his accomplishment away. They wanted to send a message.
Well, I mean, that's it. We're implying that now. We don't know that for sure, but that's kind of wild.
In the music, but the industry itself. This is not the first time they've done this.
Okay.
Whenever they want a song to fall on the charts, they apply a new rule that applies to one artist, and then they forget about this rule for the following weeks until once again an artist they don't want to be at the top is at the top. So they apply one specific rule that can help them fall. Allegedly, of course, because the only explanation to delete 90% of a song's sales is for Luminate, which tracks these numbers, to track each payment by looking at IP addresses and credit card information.
Wow, this is
that's
deep.
illegal Universal and Billboard would never, of course. So why would the whole industry go out of their ways to prevent
This
one
is the big
artist
question
from
for me.
succeeding?
I mean, there's clearly something up there. It is interesting because all of those other acts that we saw on those kind of top lists, they were all like Western artists, right? However, you would think that the companies like iTunes, Spotify, they would all want it to succeed because they would make the most money off of it, but there's obviously more to it, and the fact that apparently this isn't the first time, that's interesting. Why BTS are a problem? Damn.
BTS's biggest advantage and disadvantage is that they are successful without the industry's support, and the industry has built an environment where you can only win if you accept to play.
This is true. This is 100% true.
Words, the industry chooses its winners from the very beginning and sabotages other players who find alternative ways to defeat others at their own game.
Well, the crazy thing is now, especially with the music industry, a lot of, I mean, I've got a lot of friends that are in the music industry. I used to be, you know, people might not know this, but I used to be a touring musician, guitar player in bands. And what happens now is these labels come to you once you've already kind of established some sort of small following anyway. And then essentially they just want to kind of get you into a kind of what's called like a 360 deal where they own publishing, merchandise, touring, everything like that, and essentially just giving you a mortgage. They'll give you a loan which will help, you know, pay for your recording, your promotion and stuff like that, but then you have to recoup that, and they'll do that over a course of a 3-year deal. I mean, like, for example, when the Smashing Pumpkins started, they were giving a 7-album deal. So from the age of like 21, that could take you up until your 40s, and you're kind of trapped in this kind of like long-term mortgage, not knowing if you're ever gonna even make that back. But you don't get approached with that unless you've already kind of started doing something, so it kind of doesn't even make sense in a way. So the label isn't really doing much for you because you were already kind of doing it already. Like nowadays, unless you've got like 30 to 40, 50,000 TikTok followers and Instagram followers, labels won't even talk to you. But if you can achieve that on your own, do you need the label?
I would say that the biggest artists who do this are BTS, and it's because of ARMY's power. BTS is not simply a one-hit artist, they are at the core of pop culture.
That is
they
true.
did this without industry support, not the K-pop industry support, not the Western industry support. BTS were able to get to the top of the music industry without the music industry making a profit out of them. That's why BTS are.
I'm sure the industry did make a profit
though. The
though.
industry cannot stand. Just compare Psy's situation with BTS's situation. When Gangnam Style by Psy became globally popular, the music industry was not afraid of a Korean singer becoming popular in the West.
Interesting.
Because everyone assumed it was a one-time
That's
thing.
true.
But when BTS became globally popular, the story was different. The Western industry was first okay with them being a one-hit artist. They were fine with BTS being the weird phenomenon that people will grow out of after some time. But when they didn't disappear and they actually started defeating Western artists, the music industry got worried.
When I first heard something Korean had exploded in America, I got worried.
The entertainment industry is usually
Jimmy Carr, you naughty boy.
International and independent artists and scream diversity as long as one, it's a one-time
That's
thing, or
very
two,
fucking
artists
true.
obey the industry's rules and give the industry some profit.
That's really true. It has to fit a narrative, doesn't it? It's actually kind of slimy as well. It's kind of like, yeah, you're allowed in, but don't be getting too good now, you know?
The Oscars were fine celebrating Bong Joon-ho's movie because even though they don't profit from the movie's success, at least Bong Joon-ho is not an artist releasing multiple successful projects a year. BORACITY was a one-time thing that indirectly could help his other movies from American production companies. The Emmys were happy giving Squid Games multiple awards because at least the show was being produced by Netflix, and
that's actually something I never considered.
From the Western industry. In other words, the Western industry got benefits from
So as long as they've got their fingers in the pie, they're
so
okay.
It was fine to celebrate them. Everything Everywhere All at Once was highly celebrated by the industry, but at the end of the day, it's an American movie by American directors, American writers, and American production companies. In the end, the movie's success is the American industry's profit. But singers are different because they constantly release music and their success can become constant support from fans.
That's a really good point because you can become a fan of a movie, but you don't follow it and it doesn't continue to grow. It's like a one thing there, right? With music, you become a dedicated follower, whether you got into a group from an album or whatever, they can continue to grow and have impacts and influence, you know? It's not like a one-off thing.
So an artist's success can rely on the fans more than it relies on the industry
True.
itself. And that is not something the industry wants. This is why a song like Despacito, which was already the most popular song worldwide before the Justin Bieber feature, was not recognized at all by Billboard or any other entity from the American music industry. They only accepted the song as a global success.
I never do that.
A his American
Interesting.
label were involved and making a profit out of it. This is why the Billboard Music Awards were happy to invite Psy to their ceremony, but they never gave Gangnam Style, the biggest song of the year, a #1. Many factors prevented Psy from
Oh, I
achieving
didn't know
this.
that.
To start, Psy never left his Korean company to fully sign with an American label, so his music never got proper industry support. Also, at the time, Billboard didn't count YouTube views as streams, making it obvious how the charts didn't reflect
Yeah, because
what the
that would have
public
been
was actually
crazy.
listening to. Even to this day, and with many chart adjustments, the Billboard charts are just a reflection of the artists the industry wanted to succeed from the very beginning. Of course, there are exceptions like Gangnam Style, Old Town Road, and some organic TikTok hits. But how far they go and how far they'll keep being recognized depends on the artist's willingness to shake hands with industry people.
That is actually a very, very important point, isn't it? I think Psy was lucky because he was able to transcend, because even before things went crazy viral in terms of like TikTok and stuff like that, Gangnam Style transcended that even back then and became so big that even without that, I think regardless of like billboards or charts or anything like that, everybody knew that Gangnam Style was the biggest song that had been out in forever. So regardless, I don't think really people cared. And it's quite interesting because a lot of these examples are successful anyway. So I think that maybe the problem is maybe putting too much stock or too much emotion into caring about whether they get validation from the West. Now, the other argument could be, well, if the West actually promoted them, they'd be even bigger, which is true. The issue is with groups like BTS, they're so big anyway that they don't need that help. But there are certain groups that not everyone can be BTS, right? So you look at groups like Stray Kids, BTS, 17. These are groups that could probably be just as big. I'm not saying they'd ever be as good as BTS or just as big, but they could be double, 3 times as big if the industry actually helped push them. Of course, we're seeing stuff like, you know, Stray Kids are headlining Hyde Park alongside Kylie Minogue and these huge people. In fact, I might actually be going to that. It would be my first ever K-pop gig. That'd be crazy. You know, we're seeing like Blackpink at Coachella, and I think 17 are even playing Glastonbury this next weekend or something, or coming up soon. But imagine if they did have that support. It could be huge for K-pop.
And again, they don't care if you're a foreign artist, as long as they get to make a profit out of you. But if you don't comply with them, you will get your moment of fame and then be completely shut down from the music industry. Here's how they do it. The industry endorses its own artists on streaming platforms like Spotify by applying multiple subtle methods. One way is
playlisting is a huge thing,
desire
right?
to succeed at the best spots of curated playlists.
Yeah, I thought so.
The biggest one is the Today's Top Hits playlist, which doesn't actually show Today's Top Hits. That it's the ugly, colorless Top 50 playlist. Today's Top Hits is what Spotify wants to be the top hits.
It's curated,
Millions of
right?
streams
Yeah.
from the general public come from this playlist, so being a part of it, it's a vital part of a song's promotion. Spotify
course.
says that they decide which artists get to be at the top of the playlist or at the cover based on their intuition and expertise in music trends. But many find these arbitrary decisions suspicious, since Spotify loves giving this special treatment to certain artists from certain labels.
That's
To think that
true.
artists from certain powerful labels are paying their way to the cover of this playlist may not be a crazy thing to think.
One thing that I will say is I don't think that this is something that is necessarily just applicable to Korean bands. I think that this is also unsigned bands as well and other foreign groups. It's not necessarily something that I think that is just like against K-pop in general. I think everybody since the dawn of time, or since the music industry has become a thing, people know that it's kind of rigged in that favor. And I think if you were to say otherwise or think, oh my God, no, that's not true, I mean, you'd be living under a rock. It's called the music business for a reason.
Spotify also takes advantage of the automatic autoplay feature. When you stop listening to an album you like, they will immediately play you a song they want you to stream. More recently, Spotify updated their homepage to a TikTok-like feed that lets you scroll down endlessly with songs and music videos being automatically played. So while some artists get millions of streams added because of passive streams
That's
from
very
curated
true.
playlists and the accidental streams from the autoplay feature, BTS get millions of streams deleted because fandom behavior of willingly listening to a song every day is considered bot behavior. So if you compare BTS's unfiltered streams with their filter streams, you will find out that they are the ones with the highest rate of filter streams. Their streams get deleted more than any other artist. There are even days when their streams are cut in half. But Spotify is
That's
not
interesting.
the only platform doing this.
Yeah, I mean, botting is a problem, and this isn't a dig, but I mean, we've seen anytime a new release comes out, people say, you'll see the comments, make sure you have them on repeat, you know, make sure that you're like, even if you're not listening, you're playing it to help support the artist. That in a form is kind of botting. So I can understand when you have such high volumes, platforms do need to kind of do some sort of filtering that. However, that same thing has to be applied to everyone equally, you know. Also, I would like to see if they are deleting ones that they are also recommending as autoplay, you know, because theoretically, if they're going to promote something as autoplay and it goes on to another song, because you've done that, you can't then go and delete that, because that would be unfair, because that's definitely not botting, right?
Some of BTS's biggest waves of new fans came from YouTube. Their music videos get so many views that BTS started breaking every YouTube record
it's undeniable.
Time and time again. So every time BTS broke a record, YouTube changed their algorithm to find ways to delete what they say are inorganic views. But it's pretty clear that their algorithms never worked properly. That's why they keep changing it every time BTS gets a new record. So just to talk about the latest YouTube algorithm change, I'm going to talk about the most successful music videos from a Korean act so far this year.
This is the only part that doesn't make sense to me, because YouTube is an American company and would profit from all of the views and ads on this. So why would they want to delete views? That to me doesn't make sense. There might be more to it and they haven't gotten to that point yet, but that is one of the points where I'm not sure about.
According to YouTube, it's this video. But according to the massive wave of new BTS fans you can find on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube itself, it's On the Street by J-Hope of BTS featuring J. Cole and Like Crazy by Jimin of BTS. But both of these videos get millions of views deleted every day. It's common for YouTube to do this in the first 24 hours with every music video, since it's the day they get the most views.
100%, yeah, correct.
Fans stop mass streaming and
That's
YouTube
true.
stops deleting views. But this is BTS, so YouTube is still deleting their music video views today, weeks after they were released. You may still think that YouTube is just deleting fake views, but it's simply impossible for a random Jimin interview to get more views in its first hours than an official and anticipated Jimin music video. It's not crazy to believe that YouTube disproportionately deletes views on BTS's music videos specifically. Let's be logical for a second.
I will say I did find it very surprising that New Jeans outperformed RM's Come Back to Me music video. I did think that was weird on the day. One counter, and you have to be open-minded, and you know, I'm new to all of this, so my counter would be, because fans think that there is a thing against BTS, they may try to overview and make a movement and a wave to try and increase the views of certain things, to try and fight back what they think is that, and that could be seen as botting. You know, I mean, it's very easy to see that, like, whenever you go to a major artist from the West video, if you go through their comments initially, they're not talking about the views within the first couple of hours and like, let's push this video. Whereas when you go to a K-pop group music video, you do see that a lot. And I think that it's a thing where K-pop fans want that acceptance so bad that they want to support the artist way more than any American groups or in anything like that, any you know, Western artists would have. And maybe YouTube then sees that and considers that botting, even though I don't consider it as botting. I consider that supporting.
These K-pop acts are not bigger than BTS, and that's okay. But it's not okay for BTS to get their views deleted every hour, while these other microscopical songs get views added because people are forced to stream their music videos as YouTube ads. On the other hand, because of these two videos, BTS recently received one of its biggest waves of new fans, probably the biggest since 2021.
But does the ads thing not apply to BTS too?
That these are the real numbers.
I can definitely see that there is quite clearly something happening there. But the only thing that I would say is that conversation about the ads and YouTube would also apply to BTS. So that I still think is something that would need to be discussed and looked into, because that doesn't make sense to me. I just think when you have such a popular group like BTS, it's probably from maybe an algorithmic thing. Maybe it looks like botting when it isn't. It's just the most insane support. I don't know. I mean, that still would need to be looked into, I think. I mean, there's something's happening there. I mean, if they're, you know, the Jimin interview is actually wild to me. Like, that clearly something isn't right there. But what also does happen is, if you look at something within the first hour, sometimes when there's such a huge surge of views, it can freeze. If you remember back in the day, old YouTube, there used to be the whole like 301 views thing, or it was something like that where like it would be stuck at 301 views for ages, but it was actually not that. I myself have had videos where on YouTube it'll say that the views are say 3,000. If I go into my YouTube studio, it's actually saying 10,000. They're just like lagging behind because there's such a surge. I don't know whether that plays into it. It depends how long that those numbers were changed for, because it normally doesn't last too long, but that is interesting.
Probably the most fraudulent practice in the music industry is giving radio importance. At least with streaming platforms, there is this sense of autonomy. Streaming platforms may choose the artists they want to be at the top. They may recommend you their songs and music videos time and time again. They may even steal a stream from you because of their autoplay features and paid ads. But at least there are ways to fight this. ARMYs may not get BTS ads and recommendations, but they can look for the songs and videos themselves. ARMYs may not get all of their streams content, but at least the industry recognizes about half of them. But what has no solution except to pay is radio.
That's
radio
true, and that's always been corrupt
chooses
though.
Certain songs to get played and stays with those, giving them millions of radio spins and points to music charts that will give them a #1.
What I will say though is radio has always been that way. It's crooked and I don't like it, and luckily it's dying. The problem is when it comes to like billboards and stuff like that, radio is kind of like attributed to that, which is just bullshit anyway. It shouldn't. But then on the other hand, like BTS and like Blackpink have been used in loads of like adverts, so they do get promoted in other ways. Like for example, like when I started doing reactions to BTS and Blackpink and other K-pop stuff, my wife asked me, she was like, oh, I've never heard BTS before, play me some songs. And I thought, you know what, a good one to do would be Butter, because it's English, you know, it's a good way to get in. And as soon as I played it to her, she went, oh, I've heard this one, I hear this all the time on the TV. And the same with Blackpink as well. She said, oh, these are always on the adverts. Now of course those ads are getting paid, and you know, BTS will also be making money from that, which is fantastic, but they clearly do recognize the significance of K-pop, and that's why they use those. But that at least means that they are being promoted in other ways as well, which for me, I would rather be used in ads on TV and stuff like that, rather than boring shit radio.
But here you have Jimin of BTS, who has a #1 song and millions of radio play requests by fans, and still receives 0 points from radio. And
yeah, that's just not right.
Foreign song that the American general public may reject. This is a mainstream yet nicely produced pop song in English, but this is just reality.
I mean, it's one of the best K-pop songs I've ever heard, so it's wild to me.
Popular. So when it happened, they once again pretended like BTS doesn't exist and continue sabotaging their songs. Life Goes On was another radio-friendly song by BTS that got
I literally reacted to that last night. I filmed that last night. That's wild.
A total of 6 spins on US radio. That's
6
points for music charts. Dynamite and Butter were #1 songs in English by BTS that were played on the radio to an extent, but the number of spins were not enough to maintain their #1 position. They were only able to stay on the top of the charts because people were streaming and buying their songs. That is the main difference with BTS's songs and the industry songs. If you take the millions of radio spins from the majority of the industry's promoted songs, they wouldn't only have bigger falls than BTS, they would simply not be in the chart at all.
The difficult one with the Jimin example is, I think it was the best song on there. I mean, that is my favorite. Still to this day, Like Crazy is my favorite K-pop song, straight up. However, we're looking at radio in the West, right? It is a Korean song. I mean, I know that there's an English version, but then that wouldn't account to the original song in the charts, right? Because it would be the English version, and then you start in, and that's the problem with English versions of foreign songs, is they split the song so that none of those songs can ever quite get it, because you're then sharing out their plays and it won't chart. The West is an English speaking area, so it's going to be difficult for radio stations to want to play that stuff even if the song slaps. I think you should just play whatever sounds good, but I can kind of half understand that from a radio perspective. But I mean, I think that radio should have nothing to do with charts and stuff like that anyway, because it's a dying format.
This is how the industry chooses their success stories from the very beginning. Mass radio play makes a song debut look more successful.
That is true. That's true. You can pay
it
and you get it out there for sure.
Attracts the general public. If this doesn't work and the general public still rejects the song, the industry doesn't give up. Mass radio play makes an unsuccessful song stay in the charts with minimal sales and streams from real people. While this happens, songs songs like Jimin's, which literally got a #1 and millions of people streaming and buying, will still not receive any radio space.
I think that's more of a
Radio
credit to how
doesn't
good
care
the
about
song
how
is though, and the
radio-friendly
fan
song
base.
is. They don't care about
I
the
would,
millions
even though
of
it sucks,
faithful
I'd wear that like a
listeners they
badge of
would get
fucking
if they heard
honor.
BTS music. They don't care about the most requested songs. The industry's plans are the industry's plans.
I mean, it's undeniable that radio is just so sketchy, but I mean, the fact that he managed to achieve what he achieved with that song is unbelievable to me. And it's interesting as well because like I look at like Jungkook's Golden album, for example, like some of the features, some of the Western artists, and it was all in English. I see more people talking about Golden than I do talking about Face. And I mean, Face has like a song with like what 1.6 billion on Spotify alone. Like Jungkook doesn't have anything near that. But because maybe of the Western element, it's maybe pushed more in the West, which is unfair. I mean, I want him to be pushed. I love Jungkook, you know, more power. But you can definitely see that there is something different about the two, isn't there?
The reason why many talk about the industry as a whole is because all of these music entities are interconnected one way or another.
100%
Artists
they are.
and their labels know that being on the Billboard charts gives the illusion that the general public is listening to a song. And to get a #1 song on this chart, you need streams, sales, and radio play. So music labels
You need the holy
allegedly
trinity.
pay for all of these radio play, fraudulent streams, and media play because they can be an investment for future real sales and streams. This can be an investment for real popularity and real listeners. If all of these investments fail to convince the general public and the label is bold enough, they will continue paying for these tactics to stay on the charts while no real people are streaming or buying the song. These failed industry promoted songs that no one is listening to will then be nominated for Grammys with the excuse that they care about quality and not popularity. These Grammys will then elevate the artist and the music label's reputation.
I think it's a bit unfair to like kind of use Ed Sheeran as that because Ed Sheeran is huge and that people actually turn up to his shows. Like he's one of the most popular artists because he is an incredible songwriter. I mean, that is just a fact. However, the argument would be, well, because of the way that they're pushed, that's how they get the fans in the first place. So it's kind of like fake it until they eventually make it. And that's also true. And I definitely think that there will be examples of groups that have kind of been like, you know, the term like industry plant. I mean, if people think that that's not a thing, I think they're living under a rock. There's definitely that. I mean, there's so many examples of them. I do think that a lot of like the ex-Disney stuff as well, like you're seeing them now. So yeah, it is kind of interesting, isn't it?
This money will then be used to buy media play, radio play, streams, and the circle continues. If a massively promoted song or album is successful, the artist may get their investment money back, as well as the obvious Grammys. This will
I don't know who this girl is,
the most important
but
factor
one,
to
she's
make money,
stunning, but two,
reputation. Allegedly,
she must be
music
huge because they're
labels
showing
pay
her a
way more
lot.
money to streaming platforms for promotion than they receive from streams. The money paid for radio spins can go from thousands of dollars to multi-million-dollar settlements. And getting this investment back as sales is not as common because buying music is not a popular enough practice amongst the general public.
Do you know what that shows you then? That shows you that Jimin made way more bank than everyone else because it means that that money didn't need to be funneled to radio, but they were getting just as many, if not more people actually buying it. So actually, good. This is a good thing. Jimin gets the bag like he deserves and it doesn't need to be filtered and he doesn't need to play that system. The problem is with all of this is there is a system, there is a game. It is a double-edged sword. We want them to be promoted and accepted, but then that means that BTS would have to play the game. They'd have to be a part of that system and then we wouldn't feel the same way about it, you know? So it's a difficult one.
Musicians rarely make profit from their music. They earn
This is
money
very
from
true.
Advances, merchandise, royalties, licensing fees, and concerts. That's why that #1 is so important. That's why many would rather not make any profits now and get a Grammy later. It's like being influencers. Their actual content may not make a lot of profit, but the reputation and popularity of their name can get them fashion deals, commercials, and a time slot in a music
And then more
festival.
ticket sales and
These
stuff
are
like
only
that. Yeah,
examples,
100%.
Of course, there are many variables and outcomes. Sometimes artists invest in radio play and end up making a lot more money from sales or concerts. Sometimes
That's
an
100%
artist
true.
has a good relationship with the industry for years, and then they stop shaking hands with industry people and they receive 0 Grammy nominations for an extremely popular, critically acclaimed album.
What's really important that you guys know about this, there's another big bigger example of this as well, which is when it comes to touring. Now, not a lot of people know this, but when you see a group open up for, like say a band opening up for a bigger band, there is a chance on a lot of those bills that that support band paid money to have that slot. It's called a buy-on. You can Google this. It's true. I've been offered it before in the past as well with bands that I've been on. You get offered, they say, hey, pay us 10 grand and you can do 5 shows opening up for this bigger band. And you go, well, that's a lot of money. And they go, well, you're going to get loads of exposure being in front of their fans. And then what you do is you hope that you get bigger and more popular. And then once you get to that stage, other bands, smaller bands, can then pay you to be on supporting your tour. It is sketchy and it's nasty, it's toxic, it's snaky. I don't like it.
The Western industry's main interest is ratings and social media engagement because that is direct money for the Western industry. BTS's 5 Grammy nominations are historic for a number of reasons, but their lack of wins show the obvious message the Grammys are trying to send them. You can't be invited, so we have the ratings, but you are not our friends, so you won't.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
The industry has the first and last say, and this doesn't only happen in the Western music industry.
You can come and we can get all the clicks and the views off of you, but we ain't giving you shit is what they're saying.
Of bringing billions of dollars to their economy. Again, this is because BTS are not part of their elite. The 3 major music labels in South Korea control the entertainment industry. They have enough power to blacklist artists from independent labels like BTS and make the media downplay their achievements. There isn't a common practice of deleting sales like in American music charts, but what they would do is freeze the charts and then apologize for a technical error. So if millions of BTS sales
I don't like that.
Once again, this is how the different music entities inside each music industry are interconnected. They need one another to function. Sometimes they are one and the same. If you thought Billboard and Rolling Stone were at some point competing for who has the best charts, think about how they are both owned by Banks Media Corporation,
Facts.
which also owns Variety, Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, and an interest in music business worldwide.
And another thing is as well is like what labels will do is say they want to make, they know that we make loads of bank off of BTS. We know we make loads of money and we're going to, because ARMY's so big, we don't need to worry. They're going to do good regardless. We want to make the next BTS. We want to make a group that's going to make us lots of money too. If we fake it and make it look like this other group is actually outdoing them, they're going to get loads of publicity. They're going to get loads of eyeballs. Like, who's this group that's just beating BTS? They get eyeballs, press for them, and then they blow up that group as well. And then that way, they're making more money off of that. It's sneaky. It really is.
So if BTS is still the biggest group in the world, but they don't have a good relationship with the music industry, here you will have, guess who? Billboard, Rolling Stone, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter making a profit out of BTS by selling exclusive photo shoots while at the same time writing negative articles undermining
This is interesting.
their
I would
success.
love
These
to know if
persons
BTS
are
themselves have
confused.
spoken on this at all, you
Billboard
know.
is nothing but an ad-selling business, the literal definition of a billboard. So why are you
That's
surprised
true.
that
It really
artists
is
promoted since
what it
day one
means.
end up succeeding in the Billboard charts?
Yeah, it's sneaky. You just have to look like where the connections are, you know. A lot of the time, rats are close by, they say, you know.
Like I said, there are not many artists that make money from their music, but music sales are still an important factor to get a number
And
one
especially
song or
nowadays,
album. So they
people
will
don't sell as
easily
much.
sell their songs for cents and
Because
their
you can
albums
stream
for
and
only a couple
download.
of dollars. This makes a lot of points for charts, but not so much money for the artist. They will also do the classic bundle album sales by selling concert tickets and different kinds
That
of
is
merch
very
like
true.
T-shirts, socks, underwear, cups, lollipops, energy drinks, and even condoms, along with a copy of their album. Charts will then count these merch sales as album sales. However, BTS's main strategy to get their number one albums and songs is to focus on music sales, real sales. BTS has never bundled their albums with any kind of merchandise or concert
That's
tickets.
interesting.
Their
I mean, good
biggest
for
trend,
them.
which the industry loves to point out, is the fact that they release a maximum of 4 versions of an album. But these were only special occasions. The norm for BTS is to release 2 versions of an album, something completely harmless if you compare it to the insane sales tactics by other music labels. Fans being encouraged to buy 2 or 4 versions of the same album because they come with a unique photo card is nothing compared to K-pop singers releasing 7 or 13 versions of the same album.
Wow.
BTS's 2 or 4 versions of an album don't have the purpose to maximize album sales, or they would be way cheaper. BTS's album versions are intended to actually make money, and their number of versions usually has has something to do with the album's concept.
I mean, if you think about it, if they did like a different album for each member or something like that, they know that they would make so much more money and it would inflate those things, but they don't do that. So BTS really are kind of being quite respectful because, you know, they could make so much more money if they really wanted to milk it, but they don't. Good for them.
If they think one version of an album is enough to capture the album's concept, then they will release only one version. If the album's concept works better in two opposite works, then they release two versions. It's as simple as that. Another common practice to maximize sales is to release remixes of a song. All of these remixes, sales, and streams will be combined and help the main song climb in music charts. BTS very occasionally releases multiple remixes of a song, and armies buy these remixes to help BTS stay on the charts.
Right.
Since they receive literally 0 points from radio,
That's
and their
true.
streams are cut in half. But while BTS is being criticized by the industry for this remix tactic, other artists are celebrated and called smart.
I mean,
and
yeah, I mean,
for
it's
doing
crazy.
exactly the same.
I mean, I don't know anything really about Taylor Swift. I'm a metalhead, you know, but I did see something the other day about how she's released so many different albums of the same album. It's just maybe like got an extra song here or a different version here or something like that. And normally I don't care about that sort of stuff because it's like, you know, go get your bread. You know, if you're a music artist, you know, like all power to you. You know, if you make the art and people want it, you should be able to make money from it. But you can't have one rule for one people and another for another, you know.
The industry and multiple fandoms think they are doing something by accusing armies of mass buying BTS albums and songs, without realizing that by doing so, they are admitting that the quote-unquote organic hits from the charts are there with industry support and
That's
not
true,
fandom support.
100%.
The industry and multiple fandoms criticize and laugh at BTS for not having radio points, when they have no control over that. They will have to pay for that, just like
And I
every
bet
other
if it was one of
artist
their
before.
artists, they
The
would love
industry
that.
and
They
multiple
wouldn't
fandoms
criticize
criticize and
if
laugh
people
at
were like
armies for
multiple
mass
buying
when all they're
a
doing
Western
is
artist, you know.
balance the unfair treatment by the industry. If BTS is not willing to pay for radio, which is illegal, or pay for playlisting in streaming platforms, then armies will buy every copy of BTS music available. BTS depends on their fandom and their fandom only. That's what terrifies
It's
the
almost the
industry.
kind of
BTS
raw
are able to stay on the
connection
charts
between
while
fan
actually
and
making
group,
money
isn't
from the
it?
music. That money goes to the BTS members and their Korean label, while the Western music industry receives nothing. Even the distribution deal BTS has with an American label benefits BTS more than it benefits the American label. So the label prioritizes their actual signed artists and dismisses BTS. That's what makes the industry mad. That's why the industry has ridiculed them so much that fandoms have convinced themselves that BTS are the corrupt ones instead of being the against all odds winners in a corrupt industry.
The crazy thing about this is, like I said, if this was, you know, I mean, this happens with Taylor Swift, right? They buy multiple albums of the versions and stuff like that. And you also hear like things about how they'll do a re-release of an album with another thing just to stop another artist from getting #1 that week, even in the West, which is kind of just crazy. But you can't have that for one and then not the other. It doesn't make sense.
Other fandoms are convinced that the general public's support is better than fandom support.
No way,
because
it's more
that is,
fickle.
according to the industry, organic success. But as you can see, there is nothing organic about these tactics. There is nothing organic about an industry choosing its own success stories and sabotaging the ones overcoming their unfair obstacles.
100%.
What is organic is having a fan base of real people actually
That's the
buying
thing, man.
and
You don't want a
streaming the music.
fickle
You can
general
see these
audience that
millions of
will forget
real
about
people
you, you
in
know,
sold
just
out
because you're the
stadium
flavor of the
tours.
week.
Something that the majority of the #1 artists and quote-unquote million sellers cannot accomplish.
Yeah, I mean,
The
like
general
J-Lo just
public
cancelled her
may
tour
be
because she
driven
only
to
sold
streaming
15%
songs.
of
They may
tickets and there
follow
was no
a
one in the
music trend on
seats.
TikTok, but they are not always willing to buy expensive concert tickets. The general public moves on and forgets, but an army of fans is able to make an album or song successful
Hell yeah,
without
man.
the artist paying for industry support. Real organic success is when an artist transforms the general public into fans, and that's what BTS does with every release. The fandom's numbers only go up. This is clearly reflected in the percentage of fans who consider themselves only ARMY. The majority of BTS fans are not K-pop fans. The majority of BTS fans are part of the general public. And this is easily understandable when you look at the fandom's waves of new fans and realize that they have nothing to do with K-pop and everything to do with BTS's performance.
It is very interesting that, isn't it? I do see that a lot, you know, people, like a lot of BTS fans don't even consider themselves K-pop, you know, in terms of like, they just say, I'm not even a K-pop fan, I'm just a BTS fan. Yeah, I think it's really interesting That's a good point there.
So why would an artist prefer the momentary passive support from the general public when they
Yeah,
can have
it's
the
just, it
constant
makes no
active support
sense.
from
Yeah,
a
I
fan?
agree.
Why would artists prefer a theater or arena concert with people who only know their 1 or 2 TikTok hits instead of a sold-out stadium with people who know all of their songs? Why is constantly convincing the general public to be your fan not organic success?
I'm going to be really curious what it's like when BTS return, because when BTS return, it is going to be undeniably huge. It's going to be the biggest thing. It's going to be the return of Christ, I'm telling you. So I'll be very curious to see how the West acknowledges that.
I think it's very hypocritical for fandoms to cry about how the charts have no meaning anymore every time BTS gets a #1. Yet they love celebrating the #1s from other artists who got there with weird tactics, to say the least. If now anyone can fool the charts and what BTS is doing is so easy, then why aren't more artists getting #1s only with sales? Why are the charts irrelevant only when BTS succeeds in them? And don't get me wrong, the charts are obviously corrupt. The obvious message they try to send every time BTS gets a #1 shows how aware they are of their corruption.
It's true.
The obvious humiliation from the industry's actions and media articles show how the industry doesn't care at all about their little mafia.
It's true, yeah, it's quite obvious.
They don't care because they know that the general public will keep falling for their tactics. The general public will still believe that a song they don't even like is organically successful because they've listened to it on the radio hundreds of times.
That's true.
The general public will still
And also, even
believe
just because
that
something's
their
played on
accidental
radio
monthly
doesn't
stream
necessarily
on
mean
Spotify
people
doesn't
listen
count
to it, you
much.
know?
Fandoms
It could be a
will
dead
still
radio
believe that
station, but they
what's
could be
best for
playing
their
it all
favorite
night,
artist
spamming
is
it.
the industry and the general public support rather than their own fandom buying the music and concert tickets. But every time ARMY helps BTS succeed in the same music industries that sabotage them, they prove a point.
Yeah.
And no matter what the industry does, BTS will make money with no American music label in between.
And good for
not
them.
shaking hands with industry people. No matter what the industry
They're
does,
fighting against the
BTS
world. They're
will
fighting a
continue
good
having
fight.
the fandom support others fail to conquer.
Hell yeah. And I think that's all kind of testament to how damn good BTS are. As long as BTS and ARMY come together and they have that, I don't think ARMY truly care about chart success. Of course, they want them to be recognized because, you know, it's BTS. We love BTS. We want everyone to experience BTS. We want new people. I'm new to BTS and I've never had someone in ARMY say, oh, you're a new fan, we don't want you. They're not trying to gatekeep, which a lot of audiences do. They want to like kind of keep this group, this is my group, I don't want anyone, I want them to stay in my little group. BTS and ARMY don't do that. They want to make it as big. They want as many people to enjoy BTS as possible, which is why it's a shame that the West doesn't push them. But at the same time, fuck them. We have BTS. BTS are going to completely dominate as always, and no one can stop them. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this. Also, make sure that you go check out BORACITY Magazine, the YouTube channel, who made that awesome, incredible video. I definitely think we'll be checking out more of their content if you guys want to see it. And like I said, I do have a Patreon, so if you want to see these kind of videos way before YouTube sees them and all the blocked videos, full unedited, full album reactions, run BTS completely unedited, and all the live performances and more, the links that will be down in the description below. But guys, I'll see you next time. Peace.